for you guys, like for So Poppin, what's like the big idea for the company? You know what I mean?
The big idea, I guess, or like close to our mission statement was I'm a Southern kid. I would like always love sweet sugar and stuff like that. And sweet tea was a big thing for us growing up. So one of the things that I thought about was I was like, man, I don't know if I'm supposed to go into this on the podcast, but
Yeah.
sweet tea was one of those things that we all like sat around and talked
Yeah.
and conversed over. You know, that was kind of like the buffer between everybody like having a conversation and having fun and stuff. And so one day me and my fiance at the time, we were like in my parents' house and my mom had made some sweet tea and I had had it like in years because I had been in Boston. They
Yeah.
don't know nothing about sweet tea, you know. And so like I was like, oh man, it's been a long time. But right before that, like a week before that, she had got me hooked on like sparkling waters. Usually I'm just a straight, keep it simple kind of guy. And I was like, why haven't they made like carbonated sweet tea, like a sparkling sweet tea? Like, is that not a thing? And she was like, I don't think it is. And so I forgot about it for 2 months, typical.
Yeah.
And then she brought it, I brought it up again when we were at Bodega Burger, one of the spots out here. And I said it again. And so this time she was like, well, if nobody's done it, why don't you do it?
Mhm.
And so I was like, man, that'll be a cool way to bring back that that buffer for camaraderie, like the thing that connected us, but bring it into the new age. Like, so I was like, what if I'm able to make this drink something where it brings that warm feeling, but just kind of like upgrade it or like remix it
Yeah.
and give it a new feel and kind of reinvigorate that vibe. So far, that's kind of been the case. You
Yeah.
know,
That's
I've had people from ages, 5 to 60 be like, this reminds me of like my grandparents' house. I'm like, this is dope. Like that's what we were going for.
it's crazy because like I'm like listening to all these things and it's like you want to have a product that serves people and kind of brings back memories. But like as far as like the long-term vision, right? Like what do you feel for you and So Pop and like you want to accomplish with the company? You know what I mean? Like do you want to go into chains? Do you want to go D2C? Like what's kind of the goal?
We do want to go to big chains, because even right now, like we're our goal is to do a little bit of both. We have people from like small mom and pop shops that are like ready to buy, as well as we want to do pop-ups. Our biggest thing, I still want to do, even if when we get big, I still want to do some kind of B2C, as even if it's just a pop-up thing that we do once a month or something like that. Even if it when we get big, like I still want to do that because that was the whole point of it. Like it's to reconnect with the people and like to tap in. Because one of the big things that we were thinking about, I'm originally a musician. Still get yes, I gig and I perform full time. That's what my full time thing is.
Yeah.
And so connection is a big thing for us. We're all the different festivals and like playing the different bars and gigs and stuff like that, events. Connecting is a big part of it. And so I'm like, man, if I can create something tangible, because playing
Yeah.
in a band, everything is intangible. It's about the feeling.
Yeah.
But if I can create something that tangible that goes along with that feeling, I mean, I'm like, that's kind of dope. Like, I want to
Yeah.
still do that. But the biggest goal, yeah, B2B, get into like our local stores, HEB,
Mhm.
so getting into HEB, Walmart's, Target, stuff like that. I'll probably go HEB, Target, big size. Um, I'll take my time getting to the Sam's Club and Costco stuff because I want to make sure that when we do make those kind of deals that like we have plenty of leverage that we don't get, because that's what I'm learning.
Yeah, it's like where are you guys at now though? I know you haven't officially launched yet,
Mhm.
but like where are you now as far as like getting investors, pre-funding, all that sort of stuff?
So we did all of the back work on our own. So like I think the last thing we gotta do is for like kind of the back end stuff is finalize our trademark. But now we're in a place of looking for investors to get our first initial batch or our first thing of inventory.
Yeah.
That was the first thing that kicked in when they were like, "Oh yeah, it costs this amount of money to get." I was say what?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
you have to pay how much money just to get one small batch? Okay. I was like, a friend of ours, he's helping us out. I think our sample batch of 48 cans, and that was him helping us out,
Yeah.
was about $900. Other than that, to have somebody do like a sample 6-pack, they were about to charge us $1,000 to $3,000
Just for one 6 pack?
because
Yeah.
they don't like running their machines for small amounts.
Wow.
So unless you pay for the money to buy the equipment yourself or you know somebody who can do it, which again, new to the space, we don't have those. We're building those connections, so we don't know who to reach out to. So luckily the dude that's been helping us formulate everything, he was like, I'll go buy the stuff and I'll make it.
Hmm.
And so I was like, well, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
And we were able to make a lot of headway with the sample batches. But, I think our first quote that we got to get like a sellable amount would be like 40,000 units plus
Yeah.
at 36K.
Yeah.
So I was like, ooh, that's a lot of cans, and a lot of money. I was like, just for a first batch. But hey, that's the game we jumped into, and I'm
Yeah.
sticking it out. So
Yeah, and like I think right now, especially, I don't know if it's. I would love to hear it, but like, do you think it's harder for bands to like get started now, or do you feel like maybe like I don't know, like 5, 10 years ago, from what you know, do you feel it was maybe easier back then now, and then also like what's kind of like the challenging part, especially outside of money, that people are starting to find out when they're starting a brand?
I definitely think it was easier 10 years ago. I think businesses in general were easier 10 years ago.
What do you feel that
Um,
is?
I say one more time.
What do you feel that is?
Like even for my business, as far as like music, it
Mhm.
was a lot easier to do things, and you were able to like make a lot more money as a musician once you got to a certain level.
Mhm.
But even the people, like a lot of people don't know this, but like even the people playing behind like Ariana Grande and Beyonce, the money is not the same
Yeah.
as it was 10 years ago. Like say for instance, Timbaland, like the producer Timbaland and all of that stuff. When he first started, he was able to sell one beat for 200 grand
Mhm.
and still get royalties.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist, period. Now
Yeah.
selling a beat, it can be a couple $100 now,
Yeah.
maybe cheaper.
Mhm.
So it's a completely different game, and I think it's just like it shows across every industry. So specifically dealing with like CPG, the cost of everything is so different now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Like I was gonna real quick. So like, of course, you have the money and you got to raise funding and you got to get people. But do you think it's actually easier or harder for you to get the connections? Right? I know connections are and everything, but figuring out who's going to be able to help with manufacturing, who's going to be able to roll out the product, and which stores. Like, do you think the connections are the easier part or the kind of the harder one?
Connections are actually the easier.
Really?
So
Wow.
connections are the actually has for us. I don't know about anybody else, but for us, it's been easier. The amount of people that we have met in the CPG space that I had no clue who they were until like I started looking up who they were.
Mhm.
I was like, okay, these are people that like they gave me their email straight out the bat. They gave me their phone number straight out the bat. Like,
Mhm.
and I was kind of thrown off when I actually started doing research because again, I'm new to the space. These people are just normal people, that you meet in a meeting or a little mixer. And so far, they have been amazing people, like slight mentors, honestly, throughout this whole process. Hey, you should do this. I like what you're doing. I will focus on this area here. And I would say the culture shock for me was switching from Instagram being my connector to LinkedIn being my
Then, right?
connector.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's been super easy because I guess like the social part of being a musician, it helps
Yeah.
in that space. And so I'm also like pretty genuine as far as like, hey, this I'm adamant about this. And I think it's a product that I actually like rock with too. So I'm not selling something that I don't believe in.
Yeah, it's something that you trust, and you make it, right? So that's the biggest part. It's like, and then also when you started making the product, I know I want to take it back, but like when you were making the product, do you feel it was difficult getting the ingredients set up, finding that like sweet spot between having something kind of be sparkling and having taste be a mix? Like, is that like you feel that was difficult for you guys, or you think that was easy?
So our flavor house, that guy that's helping us, his name is Greg Spickler.
Mhm.
Um I'm a believer in Christ and stuff. So like I had been praying about
Mhm.
how we're gonna bring this idea together because me and Tiffany, we tried it ourselves. You know, I didn't realize that once you start getting into this kind of level of beverages, especially when we start talking adding carbonation, you're basically doing chemistry instead of just mixology. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that go into it. And so when we started ourselves, we kept coming up with stuff that was close to the mark because
Yeah.
again, we had no no place to start from as far as like it's supposed to taste like this. So we're just kind of like have this ethereal thing in our head, like it's not quite there yet. It's not what I'm looking for. And so I started reaching out, like, hey, who makes drinks?
Yeah.
And how can they like help us in this process? And lo and behold, we got passed on to Greg. Greg said he likes the idea. He had done something similar. And so he was like, hey, I'll help y'all out. Send me what you got, and I'll help you out with it. Our first flavor he got on the first try.
Really?
First try. We told them what we were looking for. We were like, hey, just make, we're looking for a good Southern sweet tea, but with a good kick of carbonation, da da da. Because on our own, we found out that if you do not have an injector, pouring too fast or pouring too little will actually nullify the carbonation and the sweetness.
Mhm.
So we were like, oh, there's a chemical reaction that we had no way of buffering. We had no way of like
Yeah.
fixing it. So he sent it to us. And the first time we tasted it, we were like, this is different. This is beyond what we expected. And the reason why it wasn't difficult is because come to find out, Greg and his wife were chefs that traveled the world before they started this.
Wow, that's insane.
So
Wow.
God just led us to a place where he was willing, he was really on board with the idea. He
Yeah.
really liked it, and like he had all the expertise. And
Sure.
so, shameless plug for him, he started a beverage company called Southside Craft Soda. And so that soda is amazing. Like if you catch
Yeah.
it, I think he just got a deal with Walmart. So I don't know
It's
what
awesome.
Walmart's is gonna pop up at, but he's been
Yeah.
in the HEBs out here.
Really.
But if you want something that's a crisp, clean soda, like you don't have to worry about crazy ingredients and you just want to enjoy a good, nice beverage that tastes better than everything out there, I will go there.
That's insane. Yeah, you guys lucked out, man. That's not an easy process. You guys lucked out. And
Yeah.
like when you're in the process of like making the product and wait, so real quick, how does it work? Because I was always curious about it. When you guys were sampling out things in like your Instagram and LinkedIn, I'm guessing you guys had some stock. Like, did you run another batch of that 6 cans, or did you get like some type of small production run? Like, how did you guys manage to give out samples?
That's where Greg came in. He was the one I told you. He was like, hey, since I make the drink and I kind of want to be able to make sample batches for people, I'll go out and buy the stuff.
Gotcha.
And so he
That's
went out and bought the stuff. And so he went out and bought the stuff and he was like, I'll make it, you know. I was like, it's still a business, so I still gotta charge to make the money. But I was like, that's fine. That's $1,000 is cheaper than $3,000 for
yeah.
6 cans, you know. So what we did, we got him to make it. And then we found a local spot, another shameless plug, Priority Labels out here in Houston. They helped us out by creating can labels. So
Yeah.
we went and got those. He did, they really helped us out there. And so we wrapped all the cans, and that's how we presented them at first. I went to the local Target, got us some good, nice looking clear cups, the fancy kind for people to taste test out of. And
Yeah.
we just went from there. We would bring about 2 cans and pour up maybe about an ounce or 2 in each one, so to make each can last. And that's how we were able to get such a big sample pool of people out of just the 48 cans.
Yeah. Oh, so it was 48 in the beginning.
It was 48 in the beginning.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, man. I think I'm noticing too. Like you have a lot of. I'm betting everybody says it, but I think it is true. Just in your case too, you have a lot of passion for this. When you're in the, I want to say when you're literally in the startup phase of making this product and you're actually trying to get manufacturers, trying to launch it for the first time. What is the thing that's like pushing you forward in a way and making sure, this is something that I will bring into life? Because I'm betting not everything's all smooth and rainbows and all that. Like there's gonna be challenges. Probably, I'm guessing funding is a tough cookie. But what's like keeping you going? Like what's that thing driving you?
I think it's the fact that nobody has done it, and it's one of the simplest ideas ever. So like, again, going back to the God thing, I was like, there's no way nobody thought of this. And so it almost felt like God was like, I'm gonna save this for you.
Yeah.
Because it didn't make sense. I spent 2 months before I actually started pursuing the idea, checking to see if anybody made anything similar.
Yeah.
The closest thing I found was when we went to Sprouts. They do sell carbonated teas, but all of them are sold as like elixirs or non-sweetened.
Yeah.
You don't really find sweetened carbonated tea anywhere.
Yeah.
There's some that might be like half sweet, but as far as like being able to compete in a whole different arena, as far as like sweet tea in the South. So that's the thing. I'm like, I know for a fact that sweet tea can sell in the South because, say for instance, we have a disaster or anything. There's a meme that circulates every year in the South where they show the shelf of all like the water and everything like that. And if you look down the whole shelf, everything is gone except the unsweet tea. The unsweet tea is untouched. And it's a legit thing. Every time there's something that happens, you'll be able to find unsweet tea every single time.
Yeah. Right now, do you feel like the main goal is like more, I guess like the underlying goal right now is funding, if I'm not mistaken. Outside of that, when you're making the product, is it more figuring out how to make it a product that looks good, like presentable? Because I know packaging is like a huge part of like selling, or more like tasting, flavor of the product itself?
It's a mix of everything. That's one thing I will say about being in the entertainment industry these past couple of years in general is like it taught me that you can have the goods, but if nobody sees you, it doesn't matter. So that's our like Instagram and social media and being out and about was that version of our presentation, our packaging, And so I brought that to So Poppin Tea. At first, the original design was not it.
What did it look like?
Man, what I'll do is I'll send you a picture of it.
Yeah.
I'll send you a picture of it. That way whenever you show it, you can blow up both sides and show the old versus the new. But I created it myself because I was like, I don't have the time or the funds to pay like a good designer to do it for me. And I was just kind of just trying to bang stuff out because people I started mentioning it and people started asking me where they could look at it. And I was like, okay, I gotta hurry up and get something for people to look at because apparently people are interested. So I think I took a week and banged out a design off of Canva, and then I went the AI website builders
Yeah,
are becoming the hot thing. So I used Hostinger
yeah,
and had it create like a beverage website. I went in and plugged in all the stuff, added the information, and did my best. Which technically, the site that you saw is still that same site. I
yeah.
just revamped the whole thing with all the new information and stuff.
Wait, so the packaging right now you made?
The packaging right now, no, we did hire somebody for the new
Okay.
packaging, but during that time, pretty much the website you see, that's pretty much the same
Mm,
website. I just
yeah,
redid the
example.
whole entire thing once we got the new branding, basically.
Yeah, gotcha.
But we realized it doesn't matter if you have a good product if nobody sees it, and so that's why we chose the packaging. Or we still can tweak it. Like we have some people give us some feedback, but as of right now, people, I think it's eye catching enough to where it's like, oh, that seems different.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, it's a good start. So let's start there.
No, it looks really good, and that's the funny part too. It's because most of the time when I see like a packaging in general that looks really really clean, I'm like, oh, they probably launched already. But and you're still hey bro, you're free game right now. So
Yeah,
it was so right now as far as funding goes, like what's kind of the plan? Are you talking to some people like investors? Are you trying to like crowdfund it? What's kind of the way you're trying to do it?
we were at first we were looking at maybe crowdfunding. I'm still might do that route because I think a lot of stuff has changed even in the past couple months since I looked at it.
Mhm.
Because when we first started looking into stuff, most of the crowdfunding that I saw was for funding a facility. So like if you were making a beer, instead
Yeah,
of like supply paying for the batch itself, it was more so, hey, can you help me build a brewery? But if it was for just the beverage itself, most of the time the amount that they would ask for was like maybe 5 to 10,000, whereas like our amount is like way higher than that.
yeah,
So I was like, I don't know if that's gonna work, but you know, we'll
yeah.
see. We'll see down the line.
Do you plan to do maybe some investors, or do you want to go straight to the crowd? Or
No, we are open to investors. So the biggest thing that I've been working on now is going ahead and putting together my pitch deck. I feel like the website is good enough to for people to understand what's going on. We try to keep it transparent as possible. That's why the whole journey to launch tab is there. Um, any any and every milestone that we have, we plan to post it there so people can stay up to date.
yeah,
I like transparency as a person, so I was like, I'm going to express that in my business as well.
okay,
So
yeah.
our biggest thing right now is like, I didn't know that a pitch deck was the main thing that people
Want
respond to
yeah,
as far as investors and stuff. So I was like, I have to put that together, but I'm realizing how hard that is because you have to make it look enticing. You have to make sure that your information is concise. So that's a learning curve for me too now.
yeah. No, you got it in the back. And I think also just the way you're kind of presenting the product and you telling me the story of like how you made it. And especially, I think there's a huge market for that because obviously I'm Hispanic if you couldn't tell. And I don't know. I think it's kind of pissing me off because like no Hispanics talk about like we drink a crap ton of green tea. Green tea, and I know it's not like the official thing, but like we like
Yeah.
tea, and then sweet tea is something that we like a lot and we enjoy. And I think if people start marketing it as a whole, especially as a sparkling water, I mean, you guys have a big thing in your hands. So as far as now, kind of what are the next steps as far as making it happen, getting more manufacturers? Do you plan to just focus like double down on funding, or like what's the next step?
Uh, a little of both. Like, so we just got Greg just sent us a sample of all three of our flavors. So we finalized all three of our flavors, which one of them is a green tea. Um,
There you go, man.
so that one is a lemon honey ginger with a green tea base. Yeah, and the other flavor is cinnamon.
Nice.
And so our goal is to start rolling out with the original flavor. That way people get a understanding of what we're doing. And also my wife is the non-sugar person. She enjoys sweets, but she prefers to drink stuff on a to be able to drink it on a regular basis, non-sweet. So every flavor that we have, we're also gonna have like a no sugar, non-sugar version. That way you can actually enjoy the tea because Greg, being Greg and the chef that he is, he was able to find a facilitator and a supplier that basically gets some of the best tea that you can get in the world
Mm.
in the drink. So I was like, okay, that's cool. So for the people that just want to enjoy a good tea, they'll
Yeah,
be able to do that as well.
gotcha.
So as far as getting back to the biggest goals right now, as far as doubling down, we are looking for getting the raising the capital. That's a big thing for us. But I think part also is we can like tell people and use that as a way to market as well as about this process. So I've been watching a couple people and I I gravitate towards their information and what they're doing because they're just being honest about the process.
Yeah,
And I'm like, we can do the same thing. This is a whole new journey for us. It's unfortunate that TikTok is going down, but
yeah,
that was part of our goal was we're gonna tell people how this was. People that
yeah.
had no idea about the industry
Mhm.
and how we did it and walk with us on this journey. It's been a wild one, but
Yeah.
I
No,
think it'll be something that's worth it.
no, for sure. So I think right now, more than anything, from what I'm hearing, it's getting funding and then also getting the word out, which kind of surprised me. So it's like mainly getting other people to. I mean, obviously it's a no-brainer, but you expect somebody to try to make everything happen on social, but you want people to try the product, have it in their mouths. Um, I got like one big question for you, and I wonder like if I just really just wonder your thoughts on everything. I know you told me your big idea in a way, and you said you want to get into some retail chains, maybe do a little bit of D2C. But a lot of the times when I talk to founders, they have something in their head that's like, hey, I started this because of something that happened to me a long time ago when I was a child. For you, not even about the drink itself, man, just like entrepreneurship in general. Like what's that? Where's that coming from? Like the entrepreneurial spirit.
I would say it comes from being a musician and also watching my dad.
What do you mean?
Um, so a lot of people don't think about it this way, but if you are a entertainer in general, you are the product.
Mhm.
And so that means everything that you do, even like say for instance for So Poppin Tea, everything that we did for So Poppin Tea, I had to do as an entertainer for myself. I had to create a website. I had to create word of mouth. I had to like create buzz about myself and go out and create word of mouth interest. Or I had to post on social media to build more interest there.
Yeah.
Um, I had to market myself as a particular type of musician. Hey, I am a drummer that does this extra, as opposed to I'm an all around musician that you can call me for anything. No, I had to kind of solidify what my niche was, and then anything extra add on to it. Um, and kind of pick a genre. Even
Mhm.
though I went to school to learn all of it, I can use that as a surprise, but I'd be like, hey, this is my main focus. You can call me for pop, R&B, and hip hop, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. Um, and this is the main thing that people call me for. And if you find out about as we grow and get bigger, you'll find out about the rest. We'll add to the line, right?
You mentioned your dad. Was he also like? How did he? Was he related to the journey?
So my dad is related because he always worked in finances. So he always would tell me how to manage my numbers and stuff like that. But he got me interested in business because he would always just like start something. So I
Mhm.
would see him like he started a tax company doing well, but we ended up moving. He's also a pastor, so he would, I would see him doing stuff at the church. And then he started a couple other companies that I would just watch him, you know, get into. And so even though I'm gonna be a musician, I'm gonna be a musician. I always had this bug where whenever we would go to a restaurant that was like family owned or something like that, I would ask to talk to the owner if I could.
Really?
because I wanted to know how they did it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey man, like, what made you start this like this business? Why did you do it? How long did it take you to get into black? You know, what was hard about it? And so this is actually my first time getting to do that and experience entrepreneurship on a tangible product instead of like me as the product. So I think
Yeah.
that's another reason why I'm excited
Yeah.
about it, because it's like, oh, I finally get to scratch that itch of
Yeah.
like all the things that I've learned to do for myself. I can now apply to something that's actually tangible. You know, people can't touch me across the country.
Yeah. Legit. Yeah.
But the drink they can, it can actually have a felt presence. And I was
Mhm.
like, man, I think that's super cool.
Yeah. Um, as a kind of like a wrap up and everything like that, where would you say startup CPG founders should put most of their focus on if they just have the idea? I'm not talking they don't even have a product, they don't have any. When they just have an idea, I want to make this product. What's your advice to them?
My advice is figure out why you're doing it. Are you making this product to make money? Like, is it because I have other ideas that I feel I couldn't make money, but I don't have any attachment to them as far as a reason and like an emotional connection that would actually drive me to be passionate about it.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's a cool idea, and that's something I might pursue later
Hmm.
as something as an add-on or something like that. If it's not something that you are genuinely passionate about, I would either say one or two things. One, just mark it down, put it down somewhere. If it's something that needs a patent or something, just start the process or something. But like, don't go too crazy unless you really just have the time for it.
Yeah.
Or two, find a way that idea connects to something emotionally.
Got it.
You know, you have to have there. So the reason why entrepreneurship is easier for me than most people probably is whenever you decide to be an entertainer, there is no guarantee that you will make any money.
Yeah.
So there's a level of low-key insanity that you have to keep going.
Mhm.
Everybody said the definition of insanity is doing the same thing, expecting a different result. Being an entertainer is literally that. I go into these places and I keep doing the same thing. If I'm not making any money right now, I got to keep doing all of this, expecting that at least one time
Yeah.
that this is going to change.
Yeah.
And so I think entrepreneurship is similar. You have to have a couple of gears loose or some kind of
Yeah.
insanity
Yeah.
to be like, no matter how many no's I get, no matter after I present this product or I make this presentation about this idea, somebody's going to give me a yes.
Hmm.
And the only way you can really have that is you got to have some kind of connection to it. Other than that, you're gonna burn out. Your fire isn't gonna be stoked because you're gonna have to have something to connect to you passionately or as far as emotionally or some kind of memory to
Yeah.
restoke that fire when you got 10 no's back to back.
Yeah. So
If you
for
don't
you,
go ahead.
for you, what is that passion? Like, what's that thing driving you?
I would say the fact that I see So Poppin Tea in my music career as something that melds together.
Mhm.
It brings together my love for music and then my love to connect and help people.
Yeah.
Because one of our missions at So Poppin Tea is a percentage of our proceeds actually goes towards sponsoring or creating a scholarship or a sponsorship for other artists
Yeah.
or other entertainers or anybody who's doing something different
Yeah.
that that's kind of going through the same thing that we are now. Like when we're big and doing crazy things, it's easy to just give then, but even in this time, our goal, as soon as we start selling, a percentage of that money is going to go towards somebody here in the local area who is doing something different and
Mhm.
they just need a little help,
Got it.
you know. And
Yeah.
so that's kind of the big thing for me is I really want to help people, and this is a way to do that while also sharing my love for sweet tea and like the camaraderie that comes with it. Like it's kind of hard to be mad or talk crazy or something like that when I haven't heard of any fights breaking out around sweet tea. Like
Hey, they're fighting for years. They're gonna be fighting for years. But so what I'm hearing is, ins- give others the opportunity to do the same, or at least have the opportunity to do the same, and bring something to the market that's meaningful. It's closest to home and what a normal product would sound like or taste like, and ultimately bring it to the masses. Correct?
right. Because we also wanted to do it in a way that we're not we're not poisoning people either. Like
Yeah.
everything in moderation. It is we use cane sugar. It is, but every ingredient in there is something that you can easily read and look up. I
Yeah.
think our first original flavor has literally only fresh brewed tea and carbonated water and cane sugar. So 3 ingredients, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And we also want to change the perspective about sugar. It's empty sugars that usually do the most damage to the human body. Whereas if you use what nature gave us without tampering with it too much, you actually do get other benefits and you get satiated. I think they did the study about the zero sugar cokes and stuff like that. You actually end up drinking almost 2 times or 3 times more because your body doesn't recognize
Yeah.
anything as sugar.
Mhm.
And it's like there's still a lot of chemicals in Coke Zero and different things like that that you probably shouldn't be ingesting. And
Yeah.
so now you're doing it at a rate of times 3.
Yeah. If last thing I want to ask you, if you could have one quote, either your own quote or somebody else's quote that you give to people also starting out, what would that quote be?
Mm. Ooh. This is, I guess, for the entrepreneur, this would help. The full quote for the jack of all trades. So everybody says a jack of all trades is usually a master of none, right? But the rest of that quote is, but it's usually better than the master of one.
Mm, got it. Brother, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was a pleasure having you.
Man, thank you for having me.
Of course.